What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest we have Bailey Woods with us. His Instagram is at Bucky Burr, 2 R's at the end, right?
Bucci Burr, 1 R.
Bucci Burr, excuse me. I thought it was Bucky, my bad. And then I have Omar with me, and then I have Lucas with me. Both of those guys have been on the podcast before. You guys remember Lucas from previous podcasts, and Omar is pretty much my co-host for the podcast from here on out. But yeah, we have Bailey on the podcast today, and we have been wanting to get you on for a long time, actually, and pick your brain about things, man. There's a lot of things that you've been doing and have done that interest us a lot, and yeah, so it's good to finally have you.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be a part of it.
Thanks, bro. All right, well, let's get right into it. You were on, let's start with the driver's line, right? That's what it's called?
Yeah, driving line is the channel, and then driver battles is the show.
Okay, so if you guys haven't seen that on YouTube, you guys got to check it out. Especially if you're into track content, it's basically a time attack challenge between two drivers in what you would probably consider similarly based or skill levels as far as driver mod goes. They're trying to make it as competitive as possible. And Bailey actually just got the chance to do that a couple weekends ago at Chuckwalla, right?
Yeah, it was a super fun event, and I think they're always looking for people that want to be on the show. So I would recommend it to anyone that kind of wants to just go, see what's good.
Hell yeah!
Sorry to interrupt, but a quick question about that. I watched the driver's line a couple of times. Do they rent out the whole track, and it's like pretty much your guys' playground? You guys have like 2 sessions. How does that work?
Yeah, so they rent out the whole entire track. So on our one single day, they had 2 different groups. So it was me and Frankie, and then there was another set of competitors. And then they open up the track to anyone else that wants to come out that has Nito tires. Okay. So it's pretty much open track format. So, we got to go out there as much as we want, except for a few sessions where, they had to do individual filming and then group filming and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just a free open track day, and they send you a set of tires in the mail, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a sick experience. I haven't seen your episode, but I'm pretty sure I know who wins.
We'll see. Yeah, you'll have to watch.
When is your episode expected to drop?
I believe it's supposed to drop in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. So we still got some time. Run me through the whole process. How did this become about? How did everything play out as far as getting to the track day? You mentioned the tires. How did that work? Just give me the whole rundown from top to bottom.
Yeah, so basically I stumbled upon driver battles, and I thought it was a pretty cool concept. And
yeah,
obviously, I think anyone that's competitive sees it and thinks that they could show up and perform, and that's kind of what my thought process was. Is I saw these guys and they're going head to head, and I see these guys in cars that are faster than mine, and I think that I can beat their time. So I blew up their YouTube channel, and I put a comment on every single YouTube video, and hit up their Instagram, and send them messages and stuff. And they're always looking for drivers, but they'll even say they have an application on their website, which is pretty easy to fill out. Yeah. And it's super straightforward. They're always looking for drivers, but I wanted to ensure that I was going to get on the show, so I just did what I dropped a bunch of ridiculous comments, and I think I had 30 of my friends drop comments saying that they wanted to see me on the show, and I just wanted to make myself stick out, and they hit me up pretty quickly after that, and they said that they looked at my Instagram and they wanted to have me out, and asked me what tire size I had and if I was available, and I told them my tire size. They sent a free set of NTO1s in the mail, and I showed up to Chuckwalla and had the track to myself. So
that's fucking awesome. Dope.
Yeah.
What tires did you get?
So they were the NTO1s, and it was my first time on the NTO1.
All right. So, I know you have some significant track experience with different tires. We've talked about tires before in private chats and in person. What do you think about those? How did those stack up? Be honest. You're not on driver line no more.
Yes. I mean, obviously coming off of A7s and R7s and AO52s, it's kind of hard to look at any tire without some type of bias.
Yep.
But it's definitely an endurance tire. If you wanted a tire you could hit up 10 track days with, or you wanted to put down a 2-hour session or whatever, like that's the tire.
Yeah.
As far as like outright speed, that's not the tire.
Yeah.
And,
where's Augie at? Get Augie's ass in here. We got a boy that swears on the fucking NTO1.
NTO1.
People are all about it. I mean, even our guy Robin, when I first started tracking, he was like, the NTO1 is the time to get.
Yep.
And that's when the AR1 came out, and I was like, I don't know, this AR1 seems pretty cool too. So
yeah. So you think the AR1 might be faster than the NTO1, but maybe less lifespan?
I would say without a doubt.
No
shit. The AR1 is faster. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. I don't mean to keep comparing tires here, but NTO1 or a Pilot Sport Cup 2.
I really don't have much experience on like the Michelin, performance tires, but I would say I was at Chuckwalla 2 weeks before driver battles with Race Car Party, and I was on like 1 year old 4 full days AR1s. They were like courting, and they were like rock hard because I let them sit in the backyard for 9 months, and I was quicker on those than the fresh NTO1.
Shit. Damn.
It's also too, Gabe, you were touching upon this before, but NTO1s are low-key old tech now. You have a lot of new tire companies coming out with 200 tread wear, 100 tread wear tires that you shouldn't really, that you should pay attention to, rather. NTO1s are still like, what, a 7, 8, 9-year-old compound now?
It's an old tire. But I think if I played with my setup a little bit more, I think they could have been a good amount quicker, but I just don't think my car was tuned for that tire, and that's why I struggled with it a little bit.
Okay.
When you say a tune for that tire, what are you referring to, like camber specs or tire pressure, or what factors specifically?
I spoke with quite a few people on tire pressure, and then I think pretty much everyone I spoke with said 33, 34 is the hot ticket for hot pressures, and that's what I did, and the tire felt fine, but I think every tire prefers a certain amount of camber or caster or even a certain type of driving style, and the more tires I experienced, the more I realized they each kind of tailor to certain characteristics that you can implement in your driving. And I think the biggest issue was really the compression and rebound setup of my suspension. So as the day went on, I stiffened up the rear quite a bit more. And it made the car handle quite a bit better. So I was dealing with a lot of push in the morning because I keep the rear shocks pretty soft. But when I clicked them up, it helped quite a bit with the push.
And you're on MCS 2-ways, right, Bailey?
Yeah, I'm on the MCS 2-way non-remote.
Gotcha.
Are you running a softer suspension setup because of the weight of the car is pretty significantly light, or is it just fitting your driver style?
Well, Neil from Oceanside Motorsports a long time ago kind of got me hooked on the soft suspension, and I've even listened to some pretty interesting podcasts from like Steve Deanan and talking about how you want the car to be pretty much as soft as possible until it's actually affecting the handling. The car hooks up. It hooks up so well, and I struggled in the beginning of the year trying to get the car dialed in, or the suspension dialed in for the weight of my car, and had to go through different springs and had to up my spring rate quite a bit, but I still kept my shocks pretty soft. And if I'm on a fast tire like a AR1 or AO52 or even a Hoosier with my softer setup, it just hooks up. It's insane.
That's dope. I mean, I saw you're at a 53 now at fucking Buttonwillow, bro. That is insane to me. Considering how last year pretty much none of our times in Bimmer Challenge were that fast. I don't know. Were you ever that fast?
No, I've been working on it for a while. My first event was at the beginning of the year with the car, stripped down to its weight and kind of set up how it is. And I did a 55.9, and it was like the scariest lap of my life. So, I had to get the car dialed in. Like I said, I had to go through a couple different spring rates and had to play with the sway bars and the alignments and stuff. And I got the car dialed in, and through that process, I kind of figured out how the car likes to drive, and obviously got little bit better as a driver with all the seat time I've been getting this year, and it's definitely the fastest. The past few months is the fastest I've been and the fastest the car's been.
Yeah, I've noticed the times you've been setting down are like fucking insane, dude. I mean, since Laguna Seca, I've noticed that your driver mod has like significantly increased like crazy. I mean, I always knew you're a great driver, like one of the best in the field of Bimmer Challenge. But I mean, when I got B3 cars running seconds faster than me in a B2 F80, like, bro, okay, it's no longer anything to do with the cars. It's strictly driver mod. And yeah, you're just kicking ass, man. I want to...
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying.
That's good. Let's talk about your build, though, the car. Because, I mean, I know you're a great driver, but, I mean, that car is also fucking insane, dude. I mean, that build is something else right now. Can you give us a whole rundown?
Yeah, I mean... you know, I'm super happy with the car right now. It's definitely becoming a weapon when I drive it in the appropriate manner. But I think a lot of people know that the E36 M3 is just like the simplest track package you could put together if it's done right.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Yeah, and you know, like obviously everyone wants the E46, and I even wanted the E46. But when I started tracking, I was on a little bit of a budget, and you know, I found a super clean 86,000 mile E36 that was super nice, and I figured that'd be a good way for me to kind of start. And the first thing I did was address all the suspension and brakes and reinforce the chassis and just kind of get it ready to learn as a driver, because you're starting with a car that's not that light. You know, it's over 3,100 pounds, and you know, I'm sure it put down like 210 down to the wheels. So it's a pretty slow car, and you have to kind of work for that speed. But it's also a platform that, you know, you can drop an S54 and put some aero on, and you know, go 55. So it's just a very versatile car, and it's nice to kind of build the car up as I build my driver ability up. So I kind of set these milestones for myself.
Yeah.
So
let's
you know, I have to.
Real quick, what brake package are you running?
So I'm running factory calipers in the back with a Stop Tech rotor, and then up front I'm running the AP racing kit from Essex, and I run a PFC 11 pad all around.
PFC 11. Have you tried? So most of these guys, I got them on PFC 08s, and a couple of them used PFC 11s.
That's the enduro pad, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then the 11 is the more of the sprint pad, right? More of an aggressive bite.
Right.
Have you tried the DS, the Ferodo pads? Any of those?
Not on the E36, but I've tried them in other cars. I mean, like I guess it'd be good to experiment, but I've just had such good success with the 11s that I haven't gone away from them, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing with brake pads. Once one dude figures out like, oh shit, like I'm significantly fast with this pad, braking's amazing. You know, it's kind of hard to stray away or actually consider another brake pad unless it's terribly, you know, eating up rotors or or icing your brakes or something like that. And I feel like that's a PFC and a Ferodo game right there. I mean, those pads are, once you put those on your car, it's almost like you don't even want to put the street pads back in because it's just so damn good, whether it's on the street or on the track. They give you great performance.
Yeah, it's just it's so good. I'm just so impressed with the brake package, especially having a stock caliper and rear. It's I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, that's super impressive to consider. We're talking about a car that's what, 30 years, almost 25 years old now, right?
Yeah, it's getting there.
25 years old and you're still running the OEM calipers. That's fucking insane. What I know you got some body work done to it. Can you go into that?
Yeah, so I got some parts off of Beam World. They have some pretty good composite stuff, and there's a lot of options out there, but they seem to have the most robust kind of hood and trunk that I've seen, which I think is important because I see all these pictures of these dudes with these fiberglass hoods, and you know, anything above 120 and it looks like the hood's kind of talking.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to get something a little bit solid, and the product is super good. I was super impressed when I got it. And obviously, like any dry carbon, it might need a little bit of love if you want it to, look like a show car, which my car doesn't really look like anymore, but it's not too bad. And I did their hood, their trunk, and I have their sunroof delete. And those are really the only composite parts I have on the car. Other than that, everything is OEM.
No shit. Okay. What I know did you sell the what'd you have? RARs? What are they called? RIAs?
RIAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I still have those. And I'll just put it up there to kind of get a feeler, because those are the 18s, and I ran the 18s for a couple years, and I realized that the 18s just don't have enough sidewall for my size tire, because I run a pretty small tire compared to most of you guys. And
yeah,
the 17s, getting that bigger sidewall not only helps me a lot with the hookup, but with my car being so light and no aero, that tire is basically part of the suspension. So the bigger sidewall really helps me with bumps, especially at places like Streets of Willow or Willow Springs, where the track is just horrendous, and I need something else to help me keep the wheels on the ground.
Yeah, for sure. When I ran E36, I also ran a 17, and for sure having that 40 sidewall,
right.
that was like
yeah.
amazing, especially when you combine that with a nice set of coilovers. Like you said, it just feels
right.
like the car is just more in touch, in tune with what's going on underneath it.
For sure.
How did you start tracking, man? And how long ago?
So, I've been in a car kind of my whole life, and when I was a kid, I did a very small, portion of karting, and grew up on dirt bikes, and raced dirt bikes and stuff. And when I got in my early 20s, I hopped on sport bikes and was doing road course stuff on sport bikes, and I was really about that for a while, and started manufacturing parts for Ducatis and kind of trying to figure out how I could race anything. I was always into cars more than bikes, but just getting on track was the goal.
Yeah.
So would you say racecraft of racing motorcycles is similar to a car, or is it a completely different ball game?
You take different lines because you're working with different equipment. Like bikes, there's a lot of V lines, whereas cars, there's a lot of U lines, because you kind of have to carry speed a little bit more, where bikes are so fast, you kind of just get them stopped and turned around and pointed the other direction and get out of there.
Interesting.
So it's not a direct correlation, but I guarantee you any professional motorcycle rider could hop in a car and beat 90% of the guys out there,
Right. Yeah, I guess that was more so my question. Cool.
Yeah. I think it definitely helps. It's just that understanding of kind of what you're supposed to be out there doing, and having that feel for, traction or slip angle, or, what's fast and what's slow. I think it translates pretty well, even though it's a different characteristic.
Right. I see.
So I was doing the bike for a while, and, obviously everyone understands that racing cars is super expensive. Even just tracking your car once a month at the end of the year, if you're, going through tires and oil changes and towing to and from the track and hotels, it's super pricey. So I took a break for a while, and I was looking for some type of fix. The thing that I like about racing is when you're out there on track, that's kind of all you're focused on. There's not much else you're thinking about at that time.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for something to kind of provide that without the race car budget. And so I got into skydiving for a long time, and that was like a simple fix to kind of get that laser focus mentality to kind of do the task at hand to be successful. And then in the past 3 years, coming up on 3 years, I just started tracking again.
Hold up. Wait, so skydiving was the introduction to tracking cars?
So I've always wanted to race cars. That's always been the goal.
Yeah.
But in my mid 20s, I didn't have the funds to support it.
Yeah, of course.
So I was looking for something else to kind of to fill that void, I guess. And skydiving happened to be it, because like I was talking about, is once you jump out of a plane, you have a very primary goal. And when we go out there and compete in time attacks or wheel to wheel, it's just once that flag drops or once that lap starts, like that's the only thing that's important at that moment. and just being in that type of mentality is what I'm looking for.
Damn, bro.
But then once I got a little bit more money, you know, I had to get back into cars, and that's when I bought that E36 like 3.5 years ago. Then I did my first event, I think in 2019, maybe like March or April at Willow Springs. Bimmer Challenge. I just showed up, had no idea what I was doing. Didn't check tire pressures or nothing. You know, I showed up on 888Rs thinking they were the hot boys, and I got blown out of the water. And you know, the OG Max Camel in the purple E36, and he was the B5, you know, people's champion, and he just smokes me that season. And it was a good learning experience, and I kind of learned a lot that year and asked a lot of questions, and you know, tried to hang on the coattails of a lot of different people. And, you know, I just dump all my funds to go into racing. And, you know, you see I get quite a bit of time, whether it's E36 or Spec E30 or, you know, Lucky Dog or you know, NASA Enduro, like whatever I can do. Like if I have the funds, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
the seat time is really the biggest mod out there. So I'm hooked, and I'm going to keep on going after it until, you know, I can get to that next level.
Hell yeah,
Going
dude.
off on a tangent about what you said about hanging off like on a coattail, that's what I love about the track community, especially someone who just got into it like this year. If you're asking the correct questions and you want to learn, people are going to help you. And even on the track, if something's wrong with your car, people are going to help you and get to that next step, which I love.
Oh, 100%. And you'll find out some people are more willing to help than others, but I think that kind of comes down to your mentality. I think people can tell kind of how you look at things. And if you go to the track and you think that, you know, you're the big dog and you're not going to learn anything from anybody, then, you know, people might be a little bit more hesitant to try and help you out. But I ask a lot of people a lot of questions, and a lot of people are willing to help. And I've learned so much from so many different people. And even when I go to the track these days, you know, I'm not slow these days, but I'll still talk to people that I think maybe don't have the same driver skills as me. And you never know, they might say something that makes you look at certain things differently and changes your knowledge of how to drive or you know, your actual capabilities of driving. I think knowledge is a huge part of this game, and if you can pick up 0.5% from speaking to some stranger, then like take that 0.5%. So ask tons of questions, and you know, I think people will give you the answers.
Yeah, especially with the community like Bimmer Challenge, when you got guys like Ellie or John Lee or even Andrew, like these guys are extremely fast and extremely competitive. But when you talk to them off track, I mean, if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, they're more than welcoming to anything that you bring up or want to talk about, which is extremely helpful for a beginner like that. I know that's kind of how I was when I first got to doing Bimmer Challenge, and then talking to those guys.
Yeah.
You know, really helped me out. And then, like you mentioned before, of just getting your ass whooped the first season, you learn so much within that first season of getting your ass whooped, whether it's tires, suspension, brakes, you know, shit like that. That shit right there makes a massive difference. And then, you know, just continuing off what you said with the driver mod, I mean, that's the most important mod that you could possibly buy, is just fucking seat time, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, like I picked up tons of seat time in the past, you know, 1.5 years or 2 years by doing endurance races, like whether it's Lucky Dog or Lemons, or you want to do stuff more serious like NASA or WRL, like whatever it may be. Like endurance racing is the best bang for buck if you're trying to improve as a driver.
Yeah, for sure.
And for stuff like Lucky Dog, you need a race license, right? Sorry to cut you off, Gabe.
No, you're good.
So for certain events, you do need the race license. Like if you're going to race with NASA, you have to have your license, which is, you know, it's not that bad of a process. You just go out there for the weekend, and you know, they run through drills with you, and you know, you take a written test, and they kind of grill you, and you know, they'll put instructors out there in unmarked cars and kind of mess with you on track to see what you do when, you know, someone's mirror is touching your mirror. And you know, it's a pretty, I thought it was a pretty chill day. It's a pretty good experience. I met some cool people doing it, but it's pretty simple, and you do that once, and they'll sign you off on your license, and you have to go through your rookie phase and your provisional license, which means basically, you know, have a few clean races without hitting anybody, and we'll give you the full-fledged license. But I mean, I did Lucky Dog was my first endurance race, probably over a year ago. And you don't need a license for that. You just kind of show up with a car and some friends, and you boogie. And it's tons of seat time, and it costs chips compared to the other stuff. So
that's dope.
So Gabe, is that our next move? Lucky Dog
I
racing?
know, right? Shit. I remember when I first met Neil actually at Oceanside Motorsports. That's actually the first time I ever saw your car. I saw your car before I actually met you over there. I just moved to I'd been living there for a while, but I just bought an E36 M3 and I forget who talked to me about Oceanside Motorsports. It was my buddy. He blew his GTI motor and had Neil rebuild it, and he suggested I go there. And I went down there and had them do an alignment on the E36 before my first track day. And I remember Neil talking about Lucky Dog and how that it didn't need a license for it. He was super friendly too. He walked me around the whole shop. Showed me your car. It was parked out front, and then when I came back and picked up the car, it was actually in the back on the lift. So he let me go look under it, and I got to see all your sneaky ways. What do they call that? What's that meme? The Frodo meme? Keep your secrets or some shit. I don't
know. Yeah. I got some secrets on it there, but nothing too crazy.
Let's talk more about your endurance racing. Not necessarily endurance racing, but just wheel-to-wheel racing. You got into that earlier this year, right?
Yes, this is my first year, and I didn't do the full season, and there's still a couple races in it. But that Spec E30, when I lived up in Seattle, they have a Spec E30. It's called Pro 3, and it's a little bit more open on modifications, but it's still the very same principle of everyone kind of drives the same car.
Yeah.
But spec racing is the best way. I mean, you're doing karts now, so if everyone's got pretty much the same package, then that's where drivers shine.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other goal is budget minded, because obviously, even driving a 30-plus-year-old Spec E30 for a season, is tens of thousands of dollars, and that's like the cheap route. So for me, I had to do it, and this was the year to do it. I felt like, I had a decent ability, and I thought I could do okay in the series. And it's obviously the next phase, because I love time attack, and I also love wheel-to-wheel. I think they're both very important to driver development and kind of honing in your skills, and also still enjoying your passion. And but the wheel-to-wheel is definitely mandatory if you're trying to take to the next level. And Spec E30 is absolutely insane. And to go to Spec E30 and halfway through the season have a pretty good understanding of the car and be still stuck in the midfield is exciting to me, to know that there's a good amount of people still ahead of me that are way faster than me that I could learn a lot from. Yeah. And that kind of is just kind of continuing on or compounding on, even just entering Bimmer Challenge and growing as a driver as you meet these other guys. And it's just the next phase, and it's been a super good experience. And anyone that has the money that wants to take the next level, I think spec racing or kart series like you're doing is just mandatory.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to just go out and just compete with equal equipment. It just relying on you're solely just relying on driver's mod, and that's it. But I feel like driving an actual car is a lot more ballsy than driving a fucking cart. I know karting can be extremely dangerous, but we're talking about a cart that costs $5,000. We're not talking about a car, an E30, a Spec E30 on average, one that can actually win some races. What's that going to run you?
I think if you bought a Spec E30 built for $20,000, it would be a pretty solid car.
Yeah.
Mine was about 15, and it's definitely not the best car out there, but I've got. I'm battling it out at the front of the mid pack, where that's kind of where the party is, and then you got guys out front like Andrew Clark and Neil Daly, who've been racing Spec E30 for 10 years. And if you think you can keep up with those guys on your first season, that's, good luck. So, it's awesome. I just can't speak highly enough about it. It just takes your learning to the whole next level.
For sure. What's the spec rules on the E30s? Are you guys limited to a certain suspension, certain brakes? What's the drivetrain like? What's that? How's that all go down?
Yeah, so it's it's pretty straightforward. Obviously there's all the safety rules, and your cage has to meet certain specs, and your harnesses and all that stuff have to be within dates and tolerances and ratings and whatnot. And as far as modifications, everyone runs the stock brakes just with pads and lines, and everyone runs the same tire, the 205 from Toyo, the RR Slick.
Okay.
Wheels can't be below a certain weight. I think it's like 12 pounds or 12 or 14 pounds or something like that. So, everyone pretty much runs the same 3 sets of wheels, and engine's completely stock. I think exhaust and intake are the only 2 options available as far as, modifying the car. And I mean, you can't even like paint the valve covers. I know a guy that got disqualified from nationals because they found out his manifold was painted.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so that was like some guy from the East Coast called out a guy from the West Coast after he won. So after he won, he's like, "Oh, hey, I noticed that guy's manifold was painted." They probably said it was painted, and it was in the rules, so they had to disqualify him.
Yeah.
So, and it's obviously like they have to follow the rules because that's a slippery slope. If they can let one thing slide one year, then then it becomes kind of an argument thing. But
yeah, exactly.
I think the rules are good and they're there for a reason. And the cars are pretty much stock. I think the most you can do is like a ground control coilover kit, but it's really just conies and iBox.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's nothing crazy.
Yeah, but
it's pretty straightforward.
That's dope. Is everyone running that though? Or I mean, I can't imagine dudes are running OEM suspension with springs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not running it's not a baller kit, but I'm not running the nice kit. On my pink car, I was running like the run of the mill, like Coney and Ibach, but it's not the full coilover kit. So not everyone runs them. I'd say maybe it's split 50-50, but you got cars on the podium that are running the coilovers and you got cars on the podium that aren't. So, I don't think it's the biggest advantage, but in spec racing, 1 horsepower or, whatever you can makes a difference, especially at, certain tracks like Auto Club. If you're down on 2 horsepower because the other guy rebuilt his engine at the beginning of the season, like you're going to notice it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably the difference is probably with motors that are more fresh, heads that are newer, within a build cycle or something. That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, whoever's got the freshest kit, whoever's got the freshest engine and the freshest suspension, they're obviously going to be the ones with the advantage because, I mean, you'll notice if your car's down 5 horsepower, you're going to for sure notice it, especially when these cars are only making like 120 or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. What's the what type of schedule you guys running as far as how often you guys race, and then what tracks are you guys doing?
I think next year they have 7 races on the schedule, and some guys also bounce between regions, whether it's NorCal or SoCal. We got guys that go do some of the stuff in like Utah as well, but I think SoCal is on a 7 race series next year. Mostly Buttonwillow, Auto Club, Willow Springs. I'm going to do the 25-hour this year at Thunderhill. Okay. Mostly Cali stuff, but nothing too out of the norm. But you could always go East Coast or wherever you wanted. Once you're in NASA, you can go do Spec E30 wherever you want.
Ah, that's dope as hell. Everything
when you're competing in some of these race events, what would you say are some of like the largest challenges as far as the race itself goes? Like, would you say it's like, obviously it's pretty physically demanding. Like, can you speak a little bit on that? And maybe just like how much exertion, I guess, it takes to compete in a race for an extended period of time?
Yeah, so, the Spec E30 is mostly sprint races, so the longest race would be maybe like 40 minutes.
Okay.
So, but I also do endurance races as well. In the Spec E30 is just called E3S, so it's a different class of endurance racing, even though it's all the same cars. And
Gotcha.
I think the biggest thing is not necessarily physical, but it's just mental focus.
Right.
It's the mentality, and if you're in the car for 20 minutes and things aren't going your way, it's easy to get physically tired because you kind of mentally give up. So
yeah,
the cool thing about racing is just like if you are having a bad race, it gets in your head and it's just going to make you perform worse. So being able to shake off someone that just puts the burners on you and puts a clean pass on you, it's hard not to let that bring you down, and that can bring you down physically as well, I think. And being able to kind of keep yourself in the right mindset so that you can continue to perform no matter what's going on in the races is the biggest demand. But I have done some long stints in endurance racing. This year I did one of the endurance races I did was at Willow Springs, and I did a 3-hour stint. And I honestly felt good at the end of it. You know, like you kind of go through phases. So after an hour, you're like, okay, this is kind of exhausting. And then at an hour and a half, you're like in an automatic pilot mode, and you'll be putting down, you know, some spicy laps, and you're not even thinking about it. So, you know, I guess that kind of goes back to the mentality, and you go through these cycles, whether you're feeling it or you're not feeling it. Sometimes you want to get out of the car, and sometimes you could just be there all day. So, you know, sprint racing is very different than endurance racing. And I guess just like I said earlier, time attack is important, and wheel to wheel is important. I think sprint racing is important. I think endurance racing is important because I think they can both teach you very, very crucial things that build you overall as a driver.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, we've been talking for about 36 minutes now. I don't want to take up too much of your time anymore, but I did want to ask you one last question, and I'm sure these other guys got some last questions for you. But I mean, you've driven a lot of shit in your life and ridden on a lot of bikes. What would you say was your favorite bike or car to drive or ride on track?
Oh man. Yeah, I've definitely been in some really fast cars, and you know, I have a lot of experience, obviously, in BMWs, and I've had a nice experience with some Porsches, from, you know, club sports to, you know, track prep GT3s and stuff. And
yeah,
you know, that's obviously a super tough question, especially when I don't know if you've ever ridden like a leader bike or you know, one of the big boy bikes, but when you're on something that weighs 250 pounds or less, that has 200 horsepower, that is absolutely insane, you know?
Yeah, never ridden a bike.
It's literally unexplainable how insane the performance is from one of those motorcycles. So, you know, that's definitely a thrill, but honestly, my E36 right now, I feel so connected to that car, and I couldn't think of any other car I'd want to be in than that right now.
Damn.
Awesome.
The E36 boys are fucking screaming right now.
Bro, I'm all about the E36 gang these days.
Let's go, baby.
I mean,
real quickly, I got a quick question for you, Bailey. What's your take on the E36 market right now? They're getting hot.
Yeah, everything. Well, I mean, it's not even just E36. It's, you know, Porsches,
True.
BMWs, Toyotas, Nissans, like whatever it is, someone's willing to pay some ridiculous price. But obviously the E36s are picking up, and I guess it's, I don't know, not only is everything increasing in value, but as future cars or the current cars get further and further away from the original M performance analog, you know, driver cars, these cars become a little bit more valuable, especially just like muscle cars. You know, they go up in value because, you know, our parents or whoever liked those cars back in the day now have the money to afford them. You know, now all these 80s and 90s cars that used to be cheap, you know, there's people like us out there that see a super nice example, and we have the money, so we're willing to pay a little bit more, and I think it just builds on it. And, you know, one day an E36 sells for $20K, so the next day one's going to sell for $25, and it gets out of hand, and, you know, now you have these decent E36s going for $40K plus, which is pretty insane considering I started with a nice E36, and it makes me wish I kind of started with one that wasn't so nice.
I was about to say, man, earlier when you brought it up, I mean, you have like an E36 that a collector would dream of, Alpine white coupe. I mean, like, most people would not chop up something like that, but I mean, at that time you were not even thinking about what the market would be today, or how the market would affect the value of an E36, especially an Alpine white, because Alpine white E36s as clean as yours are probably about a $20,000 car right now, especially with 86,000 miles, right? That's what you said?
Yeah.
Extremely low.
I think the cars are like 95 right now or something like that, and it's like all track miles. But I don't know, I think if you're buying a car to drive, then I think the last thing you should be thinking about is what's the value going to be in the future, because I didn't buy this car as an investment. You know, I think there's better things out there to spend your money on for investment. So I bought this car for straight track duty, and I wanted to build the car as I built myself as a driver. So, you know, obviously it's, you know, I don't think the money I would have made on this car is anywhere near worth the experience that it's brought me and what it's done for my life.
Oh yeah, I bet. I think we all have a car like that, and some of us have actually sold that car and regret it. But I mean, that's pretty dope. That to see. I mean, I feel like we see that pretty often in the track community. Guys that buy the cars, drive the fuck out of them. Yeah, it may be something that would have been a collector's item or something highly sought after. But the fact that you would rather enjoy the car on track rather than collect dust in the garage is admirable for sure.
For sure.
I think that's a dying breed of enthusiast.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I can guarantee you that 90% of the GT3 RSs out there see Cars and Coffee before they see the track.
Oh, you know? Hell yeah. Where's Jason at? Where's Jason at? I know you're in the chat, motherfucker.
But yeah, you know, I think, you know, obviously, you know, I think it's unfair for us to judge people on how they enjoy cars. So if, you know, if Cars and Coffee is your thing, you know, I don't mean to like try and rain on your parade, but obviously I have a pretty strong opinion that these performance cars are meant to be driven on the racetrack, and that's what I do. For sure.
I think you're being a little too nice though.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll just keep it.
All right, last question from me, and then I'll pass it over to Omar and then Lucas for a closing question. What is your favorite track that you've ever driven?
Ooh, I'm such a fan of Chuck Walla for the SoCal boys.
Okay.
And I think it's an underrated track, and you know, I think people complain about being too far away, even though it's just as far as Buttonwillow, and I'd way rather stay in one of the cabins of Chuck Walla than freaking you know, whatever shitty hotels outside of Bakersfield. So
with the roaches,
California's armpit.
Yeah, that's the butthole of Cali. So I think for SoCal, Chuck Walla is definitely the move, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. And I've done Thunderhill, Sonoma, and Laguna up north, and you know, obviously everyone loves Sonoma, and Sonoma's an amazing track. And Thunderhill is basically like a Buttonwillow of NorCal. All super fun, but I think anyone that grew up playing Gran Turismo or whatever is going to say Laguna is the track, and I perform well there, so it's hard for me not to like it.
Okay, all right. Appreciate your answer there. Omar, you got any questions?
Not anything in particular. I mean, I guess just going, you know, looking forward, what do you see in store for the future of the E36? Your E36 specifically, and maybe your informal tracking career. Where do you see all that heading?
For sure. Well, the E36, as I've grown to like the car, I've kind of developed plans for it, because, like I said earlier, the E46 was originally the track car that I wanted to build.
Right.
But I absolutely love the E36, and I'm super hooked on it. So I'm going to kind of continue to build this out. And I mentioned that I have these milestones that I have to hit. So one of my first big milestones was hitting a 153 at CW13 with the S52. And once I did that, I could put in an S54.
Nice.
Oh, shit.
That's probably the next move. But I want to keep it narrow body, and you know, I want to keep the small tires on it, and I want to keep no aero on it, because I want to do small tire, no aero, sub 150 CW13, and then once I do that, I'll go wide body aero.
Heck yeah!
Damn, the only other S54 swapped E36s running sub 50s is Steve Lee and Charbel, and those cars got aero and all kinds of crazy shit, man.
Yeah, you know, I think it's doable. You know, I think you know, my car right now as it sits, and I got more comfortable with it. I think it could potentially have a 152.999 in it. So, you know, I'll try and hit that at the end of the year, but I'm still pretty happy with the results that the car's putting down now. But I think an S54 with a good tire and no aero, I think the sub 50 is there. I think you just gotta study the track and friggin' boogie.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if we're breaking it down, you said a 53 with an S52. I mean, the S54 is a lot more power with the correct gearing. Revs a lot faster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a lot more acceleration. So I definitely think you could do it. What place are you at right now in Bimmer Challenge, by the way?
Oh, I'm knocking on RSR right now. So
Okay.
I think I'm 2 points behind your boy Toby.
Yeah. Toby's feeling the sweat right now. I don't know if you know, but the Supra's done.
I heard that rumor. Unfortunately, that's a bummer.
Yeah, he at all places to blow the motor. It happened at Adams fucking go-kart track, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I made it out there with you. I was definitely I was going to bring out the Spec E30. I talked about that.
Yeah.
That looks like a pretty fun time. But yeah, that sucks that you to blow something like that at a track that's kind of not one of the big boy tracks.
Yeah. He was pretty bummed, but I know he'll bounce back. He'll be fine, and then
for sure. And maybe he'll focus on the G80 development now. And
yeah,
I know that's very hungry.
Yeah, that's his plan right now, is doing that. So Lucas, any last questions? Lucas.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I guess the biggest thing I'm wondering is what is the biggest skill that a driver should work on to become faster, aside from seat time, of course, whether it be braking zones, confidence, track knowledge? What do you think?
I think overall knowledge is super important. And I think kind of studying, if you look at this like a business or anything else in life, it's, if you're super athletic, that doesn't mean you're a good football player. You still got to study the book, and I think that's the same thing with driving. And I watch a lot of different YouTube videos of different drivers talking about techniques, and I have the privilege to sit in on a lot of high level driver instruction. And whenever I have the opportunity to listen to someone that I think has some type of value or is a better driver than me in any way, I listen to what they say, and I contemplate whether I think it's something that's applicable to me or not. And everyone has their own niche when it comes to driving, whether they're good at a certain track, or they're good with a certain platform, or they have a really good understanding about car setup, whatever it is. I think trying to educate yourself on different driving techniques, different car setups, or the way people drive tracks with different cars. I think that if you study hard, then I think your skill will dramatically increase.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
All right. Well, with that being said, Bailey, I appreciate you coming on, man. It was actually a really interesting 50 minutes talking with you and getting to know your background a little more and understanding what goes on in your mind. I feel like you got that Mamba mentality, and that shit really is showing off in your times, really. And in wheel-to-wheel racing, I have watched you race at Big Willow and seen you be successful there as well. So I appreciate you coming on and talking with us, and let's get you on soon again, bro.
Yeah, man, it was a good time, and I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, I'm down to hop on whenever you want.
For sure, man. All right, well, that'll do it for this podcast, guys. We are out of here. We got to play some Warzone. We got some Battlefield to get ready for in a couple weeks. We got to get in that Mamba mentality as well. So that's it for here. All right, take it easy.